Hi, and welcome to Sunday with Mike. On today's show, we're going to be talking about nothing but DMX lighting. So I hope you'll stick around with me and let me take away some of those mysteries of DMX. I'm going to start by explaining many of the parts and pieces of DMX lighting, some things you may have heard of, some things you may not have, but you're going to learn something if you'll stick with me today, and I'm going to try to fill in some of those holes that you may have. So be sure to grab a piece of paper and a pen, grab a cup of coffee. I'll be right back. Welcome back. DMX, or Digital Multiplex 512, is a method of controlling many lights that are all connected to the same data cable by way of daisy chaining. And what I mean by that is you're looping. You're going from the original controller into the first light, from that into the second, to the third, to the fourth, and you just keep going. So I want you to imagine your street, right? Your street at your house. And the mailman is coming down the street. So that's the data stream. That's where all the data is. The mailman has all the data. Until he stops at your mailbox, you're not interested. He's going to everybody else's house. It has nothing to do with you. When he stops at your house, that's when your light wakes up and says, oh, you're talking to me. And then it will do whatever it is that you want it to do. Not the next door neighbors, only when the number matches that number, that particular light. That's when it's going to pay attention to commands. So how do we control the lights? Well, each unit is going to have its own unique DMX address, just like your house address. Mine's 318, so we'll use that as our example. So when light number 318 is addressed by the controller, my light comes on and does whatever we told it to do. So there are things called hardware controllers, and this is a small version of it that I picked up a long time ago for small, simple jobs. And this guy will hold 12 units, fixtures, and it's good for 16 channels. Now, back in the day, these were great because most fixtures would just turn on and off, or there was sound active and so forth. But that was all before huge channels and moving heads where things are moving and such. And so it's not uncommon for a fixture today to have 30 channels of DMX. And these older boards are going to have trouble with that, not to mention also trying to keep up with the mixing. So enter software controllers. So here's a Chavez Show Express 512, and you hook up your DMX cable to the output, and then it's got a little USB jack that connects to your laptop. And this is the way to go. This is the ideal thing you want to do. It can handle all the new fixtures. It can do all of the multi-channels, much more than 16. And this little box is referred to as a dongle. American DJ has one. Chavez has one. Most of the big companies have their own little box, and that's where they get you because the software is usually free, but now you have to buy the dongle to match that software. So it's just a case of which software do you like the best, and since it's free, you can download all of them and play around with them and kind of get a feel for which ones is a better fit. So then we move into the next thing, which is 5-pin versus 3-pin DMX cables. Traditionally, you would use DMX lighting cables to hook up lighting, and many companies use the 5-pin XLR connector to keep lighting and audio cables from getting mixed up when they put them in the road cases. These days, most of the DJ lighting will use a 3-pin cable because the other 2 pins were never ever used. They had no purpose. So, smartly so, companies are going, why should we go through the extra expense when we are not using those 2 pins, and we already have 3-pin XLRs from our audio stuff. So that's how that kind of worked itself out. Even though an audio XLR cable might work for a DMX light, there's a serious difference between the cables. And a lot of people mistakenly think because it works that there's no difference. And trust me, there is. And if you don't believe me, then go talk to Ben Stowe. He will give you a long dissertation as to exactly what the differences are. But there is a huge difference, and DMX lighting cables is what you want for your lighting rig. Just trust me on this one. There's also a dead-end device, and I've got one here. It's called a terminator, and if you notice, it's got just a little sticker on the end of it, but it's a 3-pin, and the idea behind this guy is that you want to put that at the very last fixture. So if we're daisy chaining from one fixture to another, to another, to another, eventually we get to the last one. And so the output of that one would get the terminator. You just plug it in, and it helps to eliminate static and interference in your transmission lines. Wireless dongles or sticks have been around for a really long time, and to make everything work, you need a transmitter from your controlling software or hardware, and then as many receivers as you need to get the job done. It works exactly the same way as the wired method does, but it doesn't need the cables. The next thing I want to talk about is something called a dimmer pack. And a dimmer pack is a heavy metal box that is made to work with DMX, but what it does is it controls a regular AC outlet like a wall outlet. Normally they have 4 outlets or 8, and this single box can either control one or all of the outputs at the same time in any combination. So if you think of a dimmer on the wall, just like in your home when you're trying to dim a lamp, you'll have the right idea. That's what this device does. And so it takes a non-DMX device like a lamp. You could plug it in, and then with your software controller you can bring up or reduce down the intensity of the light using a dimmer pack, even though the light is not DMX. So there's some other things in life called a switch pack, and the switch pack is made for things that cannot be dimmed. For example, if you had a fluorescent black light that that comes on, it's got a ballast in it, and it can't run at lower than the rated voltage, which is exactly what happens when you're using a dimmer. So that wants full power all the time, so it's either on or off. So in those situations, you would use a switch pack, and it works with DMX the same way. You address it, you tell it to turn it on or turn it off, and whatever's plugged into that outlet is turned on or turned off. It's really simple. And then they also make combo units that you can use. The one we're showing here is actually a combo. It can be used as a dimmer or as a switch, and you just electronically select which ones you want it to be. So be sure to pay attention to the description on the unit before you buy it. I highly recommend the dimmer switch packs, the combos, so that you can use either feature as needed down the road. I'll be right back.
DJ Event Planner will change the way you manage and run your business. Streamline all of your procedures and software into one easy-to-manage system. DJ Event Planner, the ultimate online planning tool.
Welcome back. All right, let's recap. We have 5 and 3-pin DMX lighting cables. We have dimmer packs that allow us to fade non-DMX items like a lamp. We have switch packs that act like a wall switch and turn things on and off, but they won't dim anything. And then that brings us back to the wireless sticks. Here's what they look like. Here's the male XLR, and that's the transmitter. And then here we go with the female, and that is the receiver. So imagine getting a little circuit board that's inside of this receiver and having that loose and in your hand where you can actually mount it inside your light. You might ask why. These work great. let me cover this a little bit. These are made by Blizzard, and they're called Bicycles. And they run about $100 a piece. So you're looking at $200 right here, and that's one transmitter and one receiver. You might be able to get a better deal these days. It's been a while since I bought them. You can buy the Chinese knockoffs for about half of that, so about $50 a piece, but that's still expensive if you're going to plug one of these into all of your lights. So the advantage to the other board that I introduced last week that everybody's all excited about is basically the guts of this in a little bitty board that you can buy for $10, I'm told, off of eBay, and you can just put that directly into your fixture, and it comes with the little antenna. And instead of having to use a wall wart, which is the thing I hate about using these, there's a little plug right there, and it plugs in. I'll do it for you. Plugs in like that. It's on the side. So every time you want to use one of these sticks, you have to use a wall wart. And I wish that somebody would make one that just had batteries in it, like the little button batteries, you know, just to have as an option. But nobody's done that yet. So this idea with this separate board is great because it allows you to put it right in your fixture. You can open it up, put that in there, glue it in. There's a few wires. We're going to talk about that. Let's go ahead and switch that slide, Terry. This is what that board looks like. So there's a little connector, and it's got 4 wires on it. It's on the left on this image. And so 3 of those wires are going to connect directly to an XLR jack inside of your fixture. The instructions will tell you which ones go where. There's a red wire that's going to be left over, and that one is the one that needs to be connected to a 5-volt source to be able to run the board. That's power. The last remaining part of the business of this is to drill a hole in your light and mount the little antenna mount, and then screw the antenna onto the mount on the outside, and then you're all set up. And as I said, these are running on eBay for about 10 bucks these days. So let's say that your DMX light is brand new, still under warranty, and you have no interest in opening it up and damaging, or not damaging, but just avoiding your warranty. I get it, you don't have to, but you can still take advantage of this technology. So you could either go this route and use the little dongle, the little wall wart every time, but you can also do something else, which is pretty spiffy. We've done this test and it works out great. So if you look at this battery holder, since Radio Shacks are not around anymore, I don't know where you're going to get one except mail order. But somebody may have one in your town. But if you look at this little battery holder, it's a 4 AA battery holder, and 4 AA's will give you 6 volts. They're 1.5 volts a piece. This will give you 6. You come off of the connector and connect it to the little receiver, the little wireless board that we just showed you, and that will run that board. You can take all of that, put it in a little box, and now the whole entire thing is portable. Plug it right into your light, and you don't need an AC outlet at all, and you didn't open up your light to ruin the warranty. So that's a win-win in my book. But you could also use a little battery pack like that with the Bicycle pre-built sticks. All you need is 4 batteries, a little clip, and then solder a plug onto it to fit the Bicycle. Plugs it in, and done. It's going to work like a champ. So let me catch up with myself. I think that's going to cover everything that we need to as far as the big, broad pictures of DMX. Most people find DMX overwhelmingly challenging because it's so hard to understand all the parts and pieces and to get into it. Once you get into software control, like with the dongle, the hardest part is getting your fixtures set up the very first time you fire up that software. Once you get past that, it's fun. It's creative. You can make fantastic light scenes, and you're only limited by your imagination. So don't let this little uphill battle of learning some new things throw you a curve. It's well worth it, and you can come up with some really fantastic light shows as soon as you decide to take the plunge. So that's my show. That's going to wrap things up this week. I would like to thank you all very much for following our show, keeping up with our show, all of your suggestions, and especially for those of you that chimed in on last week's show. It was probably one of our most successful and prompted me to do this week's show all about DMX, and I hope that it helped you a lot. Be sure to give me your thoughts down in the comment section down below, and don't forget to give us a thumbs up if we've taught you anything new today at all. My name is Mike Schnauter. Be safe, and thanks for watching.